So I'm going to welcome everyone to Badass Your Business featuring Pia Silva. I'm Nancy Russo from the Creatives Roundtable. For those of you who are new here, the Creatives Roundtable offers small group coaching and accountability, meets monthly and online in small groups to help with the business side of your creative business by breaking your goals into bite-sized tasks that are manageable, talking through hot topics, and getting feedback from one another. Registration for our small group opened in May for a July start. You can join our active Slack community as well as our free monthly share and tell and happy hour meetings at any time. We are pleased to present these CR 60-minute events with special speakers. They're free to our accountability group members and 50% off for our Slack members. Upcoming speakers are April 28th, all about NFTs, May 11th, Donald Miller's story branding method in action, June 7th, map your content marketing using branding. We will be taking July and August off from these events. You'll be getting emails to attend because of your attendance today. You can, of course, opt out of our emails. We love for our attendees to keep their videos on. Pia has asked for questions to be held to the end. And I'm very excited to introduce our featured guest, Pia Silva. Pia is a partner and brand strategist at Worstofall Design, where they build entire brands in 1 to 3 day intensive. She's also the founder of No BS Agency Mastery, where she helps small branding agencies increase profits and freedom without hiring employees. She's a TEDx speaker, a Forbes contributor, podcast host, and author of one of my favorite books, Badass Your Brand. And take it away, Pia.
Oh, thank you so much, Nancy. Yeah, great to be here. I'm here to talk about running a creative business, specifically a small branding agency. Curious if you guys could just type in the chat box. I'd love to know who here, what kinds of businesses you all offer. Are you a branding agency? Do you do marketing, graphic design? If you could just type in the chat box, I'd love to know who I'm speaking to today. Branding and graphic design, copywriter specializing in branding. Okay, love it. Everybody's here has some background or specializes in creating design, and branding is a part of it. Even when you do marketing communications, branding is at the core of it. I started my business in 2011, back when I didn't know what branding meant. I had a partner, he was my fiance at the time, and he was a graphic designer. And all we wanted to do was work for ourselves, not have to go into an office. And so because he was a creative graphic designer, I said, look, I'll go get the clients and you just do the work. And wouldn't it be nice if we could just work for ourselves? I don't know if you raise your hand, anyone here, was that just like when you started your business? Anyone here can relate to that? I just want to work for myself. I don't want to, yeah. I feel like most people in our industry, that's the main goal, at least at first. So I did that. And the way that I looked for clients, because I had no idea how to get clients, was on Craigslist. That was the first place I went. This was 2011, which was just trolling Craigslist every single day. I eventually met someone who invited me to BNI, and I ended up going to BNI hardcore because once I found out about the world of networking, I was like, oh, this is how you get business. So I went all in on BNI for about 1.5 years, which opened my eyes to what other people were doing. And so in the first 3 years of our business, I built our little graphic design business into what eventually became a small agency, because that's what I saw other people doing. So everybody that I was networking with was doing the same thing. They were writing these proposals. They were networking to get clients. They were writing proposals. They were pitching for work. Sometimes they weren't getting it. They were bringing in different people they were networking with to try to make projects bigger, to try to make the price points bigger. At a certain point, I felt like I wasn't good enough out of my house with my partner to get the higher paying projects that I needed in order to free up some of my time, because at the time we were working all the time. So we got this office that I'm still in today. I hired 2 employees and I said, okay, now we've got a team, we've got an office. Now I can charge the big bucks. Well, of course, this is like a self-feeding cycle, right? Once you have all this overhead, now you have to make even more money. I worked with a business coach who helped me figure out that my prices needed to go up substantially. So by my 3rd year in business, I was pitching for $20,000, $30,000 projects that would take a minimum of 6 to 8 months to deliver on. And it was really hard. It was really hard to pitch and close business at that level because the competition is fierce at those prices. And even though we kind of looked pretty legitimate, we were only 3 years into this business, right? Like I was like building the plane while I was flying. And sure enough, as we raised those prices to the level that felt like it has to cost this much to support this business, the sales cycles got longer, and we ended up 3 years, almost to the day, 3 years into our business in $40,000 of debt. Credit cards completely maxed. That was the max credit we had. Bank accounts empty. Nothing left to pay that next installment. And so we had to make a really hard and really sad decision at that point. We had to let our employees go. And to me, that felt like utter failure because I was building something. I had a vision of what it was going to be. Like, I know a lot of you are like this, like, I'm not used to failing, right? Like I go hard on stuff. I work really hard. And all of a sudden I was downsizing, and that felt awful, but it was necessary because we literally couldn't pay our employees the next payroll. So we had to let them go. I had all these proposals out, but none of them were closing because that was a common thing. Anybody here have that experience where you are pitching and you've got lots of proposals out, but you're not hearing back from people, or you find yourself can you just type in the chat box, ghosting, if you've ever been ghosted by a client where you have this long relationship, you get to know people, you feel like I really understand your business and we're perfect for each other. And I'm going to put all this energy into this beautiful proposal and send it to you. And then all of a sudden it's just crickets, right? And it's so sad. And you almost feel like personally, I try not to take things personally, but you take things personally, right? I put all this energy in, and I thought we were really getting along, and I've already spent the money in my head because I have all these bills to pay. So, unfortunately, but in retrospect, fortunately, we were in this corner where we were completely maxed out because we had to make that switch. So at this point, I see a lot of ghosted. Yeah, we've all been ghosted. It's just part of how this thing works. So at that point, we had to make some decisions. I thought I was going to have to go get a job, but my partner, who is a creative thinker and an artist and not as much like business savvy, he got to have the creative response to this. And he was like, we don't have to get jobs. Like, we're good at what we do. We've got plenty of amazing work. We have happy clients. This wasn't working, Pia, but maybe we can do it a different way. And that is when the light bulbs started going off, and we started really analyzing what we liked about our business and didn't like about our business. And what we realized was we loved the work, loved making the brands, loved coming up with the ideas, didn't like the fact that these projects took so long, didn't like the fact that clients never got back to us on time, never had their content when they said they would, right? Like, why do they not know how to meet deadlines? Never had the photos they said they would give us. Always needed to tweak stuff that was like irrelevant. Why do you need to see that 5 different ways? Like, this is good work, and can we move on? So hated that. Design by committee. Oh my God, so bad. So I said, okay, well, we love the work, but we hate this whole thing. How can we do this differently? And Steve said to me, my dream would be that we just make these brands and we just give it to them. Like, wouldn't that be amazing? I could charge so much less if they would just take it, right? The work is not what we're charging for. The work is like a small percentage of this time. So then we go, about a year earlier, I had this business coach. This was while we were like slowly going into debt. I had this business coach, and I told him, I'm networking with all these people, and all these people actually want to work with us, but they don't have $30,000. What do I do? How do I find the people who have $30,000? And he said, well, how much money do they have? I said, they have like $3,000. And he said, okay, well, what could you sell them for $3,000? I was like, I could sell them a day of our time. Like, that would be great if we could just do work for a day. And quite frankly, we're pretty fast. Like, we could do a lot of work in a day. And he said, okay, so do that. So I was like, okay, but I don't really want to be selling $3,000 days. I want to be selling $30,000 projects. So this $3,000, what we called a brand up, actually it was called a brand slam at the beginning, but it became a brand up because that was trademarked. The brand up, the one-day brand up, we kind of kept it in our back pocket. And so throughout that year, every once in a while, I'd be talking to somebody who seemed like a good fit and they didn't have the $30,000. And I'd say, actually, I've got this brand up and we could do that. So we did a few of them over the year. So fast forward, we're sitting there going, what should we do with our business? And I said, the brand up, that does all the things we love and none of the things we don't like. We get to do all the work. The clients come in like ready to say yes. It finishes at the end of the day and we get paid. So then I look at the numbers and I say, $3,000 for a one day versus $30,000, which is taking us 6-8 months, who knows how long. If you equate those, a $30,000 project would be 10 $3,000 one days. Well, we're spending way more than 10 full days on this $30,000 project. And that's when I went, oh my gosh, I've been looking at this all wrong. I've been focusing on that top line revenue number, $30,000, instead of the profitability of it. Of course, I didn't put these words to this until way later, but I can tell you now, I was not looking at the profitability. I was not looking at the fact that if I spent all the time that I spent delivering a $30,000 project on $3,000 one days, I would make like 3 times as much money. And not only that, but I wouldn't deal with the headache and the part that I don't like, which is this ongoing relationship with checking up on clients and chasing them and having to make tweaks and revisions forever and dealing with scope creep and, oh, can we just do this? And oh, I had an idea and oh, I was thinking about it and maybe we should go back on blah, blah, blah. You all know what I'm talking about. I know you do because we're all in the same space. So we just did like a full 180 and we went all in on the brand up. In the next 12 months, we did $500,000 in sales. Just me and Steve, just working our tails off, but just selling these brand ups. First, I went back to all the proposals that I had out and I said, I did that awkward thing. Hey, just checking in, right? And the client's like, oh yeah, right. And I said, no. I just wanted to tell you that proposal is no longer valid, but I actually could do the whole project for you for a fraction of the price. And I closed 4 clients right there. So I decided I would do a 1 day for 3,000 and a 2 day for 5,000. So I had like 4 clients who said, wait, you can do this $30,000 project for $5,000. And I said, yeah, the caveat is you're going to work with us for 2 days and you're going to basically trust us and take what we make. And they all said done because they were all looking to work with us. They just were having a hard time pulling the trigger on $30,000. So that was where it all took off. I mean, we were out of debt within a couple of months and all of a sudden we were flying high, not to mention all these people that I'd been networking with all of a sudden were sending me clients because this was a super clear thing. It was easy to talk about. It was very clear who it was for. It's for a small business. It was a productized service, right? There was a price on it. I put the prices on our website. It was so easy for people to share. It was so easy for people to remember that all of a sudden it was like that whole time before the tide had been going out and all of a sudden it came rushing towards me because there were people left and right. And because I had been so scarred from being in debt and chasing clients for so long, I was taking all of it, right? Like Steve would have backed off a little bit. I was like, nope, if someone wants to do a brand up, like we're doing it. Like I was like hoarding cash is basically how I felt. So fast forward to now, we do 1 to 3 day intensives, brand ups. We do them for 1 to 3 person service businesses. We charge clients come in at 10 a.m. on the first day of the brand up. They basically say yes all day long. The brand is launched, the entire strategy, the copy, the messaging, the design of the logo, the design and build of the website, the marketing materials, the identity materials. It is all completely finished and delivered at 6 p.m. at the end of the brand up. And our clients are happier than they ever were when we worked with them for 6 months. And we charge now $35,000 to $50,000, $40,000 for our 2-day brand up, which is the one we do the most. And the price just keeps going up. And that is what I want to share with you today, a little bit about how we do it. So actually, I will, no, I'll wait till questions to the end. So I'm going to share my screen. Make sure.
You're muted.
Not hearing you now.
There. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, why isn't it answering me? Okay. So the way that we have developed this over the past now 8 years, 8 years. Yeah. Is based on a very simple framework. And the way that we've been able to raise our prices so substantially is based on this simple framework. It's based on the concept of clients, intensives, and authority. Now, I'll start with clients. There's 3 things that are critical to the first part of your business, which is actually attracting and closing clients. First, I call it shine. Shine is about sticking out and shining specifically to your ideal clients, as opposed to just trying to be attractive to everyone. Now, I'm sure that we have all heard already and been pounded into us the idea of niching, but it doesn't mean that everybody is doing it. Niching is an art. It is not necessarily about industry. My niche is 1 to 3 person service businesses. So there's a lot of different ways to slice it. But what I find is that most people think when they're looking for higher paying clients, they go, I don't know where to find those higher paying clients. I'm not speaking to the right people. And while that might be partially true, what I find more often is that you probably are shining to those ideal clients. I mean, you probably are speaking to those ideal clients, but they don't see you as the solution to their problem. And that's the reason that they don't, quote, have a budget for you. I'm going to tell you a story about this in 1 second, but needless to say, when you shine to your ideal clients and make sure that they see you as the ideal solution to their problem, all of a sudden they have much more money to hire you. The second part is obviously a lead gen strategy. Now, most people I speak to, when I say, how do you get your leads? They say, well, I've been lucky enough to only need word of mouth and referrals, because I've been lucky enough to have referrals come to me enough to maintain my business. The problem with relying on referrals is that you're basically relying on other people to remember you and think of you to pay your bills and feed your family. A lead gen process is about having an action that you can take every single day, every single week, and every single month, so that you know without a doubt that you have a certain number, you are getting in front of a certain number of hot leads every single day, and that you have a system of turning them into clients. Until you have a lead gen strategy that is reliant on you taking action, you're really not operating a business that is reliable and has the potential to grow, or that you have any control over. And the third part is what I call an LP. This is a game changer strategy that I implemented back in the day, that I've helped now thousands of people implement in different kinds of businesses, and most recently, exactly the way I do it, in the branding and design space. A lead product is a replacement for the proposal. So instead of what is a very common sales process, which is, you network, or you get a referral, you have a meeting and talk about what they need. Then you go off and you write a proposal and you pitch the proposal. Then the clients, if you're lucky, come back and they say, probably, oh, this is a lot. Can you take something out or can I adjust it? And you go back and forth. And then hopefully one of those proposals closes. It's a lot of time and effort, and it doesn't always result in a sale. Instead, what we do is we teach something called the 15-minute fit call, which is not a sales call, but really an opportunity to figure out, is this somebody who has a problem that I can solve? And are they an ideal fit for me? And if they are, the next step is to buy a lead product. The lead product is a paid engagement instead of a proposal. It replaces the free proposal. And a lead product delivered effectively is going to build an incredible amount of trust with the client very quickly. They're going to pay for it, so they're going to value your time more highly than they would if you gave them something for free. And you're going to give them a transformational experience, such that they really understand why you are valuable to them. Now, just type in the chat box brand if you've ever felt frustrated that people don't understand the value of branding, or they feel like branding is a nice to have, or they feel like, oh, I don't need the strategy part. Can you just make me the website? Or I just need a logo. I don't really need all of that. Yeah, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for validating me. Yes. So I have found that too, right? It's a very elusive concept. It's even hard for branders to describe. The lead product basically bypasses the need to educate them. I like to say education is the most expensive form of marketing. Instead of trying to explain why this is so important and why they should pay for it and why they, why they need to value this and how important it is for their business. Instead of that, we give them an experience that connects the idea of branding to what they need. And that's what the lead product is. It's basically forget brand, like get rid of the word brand. Here's where you are. Here's where you want to go. And let me tell you what you need to do to get there. And when you execute this properly, clients' eyes will bug open. I've literally had many people that I've taught how to do this tell me that their clients literally cried during their LP because they had so much clarity and around what was going on for them. That is something that they will never get when you explain what branding is. So the LP allows us to just completely change the relationship with clients, and it sets us up to be able to sell much higher priced services in a way that we could never. So I'm going to give you a quick example. I have this student, Donahi. I taught her how to do this lead product, and I said, just do one if you haven't done one, however you need to. And she found this guy, and she was going to do it as a case study, and she wasn't going to charge him. And he said, I'm happy to do this for you, but just so you know, I don't have a budget to hire you. And she said, that's fine. I'm just going to do the case study. I need it for practice. So she does the LP. He has this amazing experience. She pitches him at the end. She pitches him 2 projects, a middle and an upper project and an upsell. And he doesn't just hire her. He hires her for the upsell, which was $12,000, which at the time was the highest project she had ever charged, had ever been paid for. Now, I love that story because it really encapsulates both the power of giving a client that experience of you and your authority before you are charging them these high dollar amounts, because it gets rid of price sensitivity. And it gives a perfect example of how she wasn't shining to him before. So before he had this experience with her, he didn't see value, so he had no budget. And then all of a sudden, magically, he had $12,000 to spend with her. That is the difference between having a process that really leads a client to the water and makes them thirsty enough to drink. So that is the client's process. Once you do clients, once you kind of get a hang of this and you're doing lead products, you end up being a lot busier because you have cut out all that time that you used to spend pitching, and you have spent that instead having 15-minute calls and then selling those people into something that is much higher value, which brings me to, which means you might just fill up your docket. Now, can you type in the chat box, what would be, roller coaster. Can you type roller coaster if you've ever had this experience? You get a couple clients and you're super, super busy and you're working all the time with them. So then you kind of stop doing whatever you were doing to try to get clients. And then as the projects end, you're like, oh shit, I didn't like fill my pipeline. So now I'm also super busy, but now I'm like hustling to go find clients. Right? We just go on this back and forth. So even when we're busy, we're stressed out about where the next client is going to come from, right? Because when we're busy, it's like, we know this is going to end and we don't have time to go look for our clients. But when this ends, we're going to have to go do that. And then we're going to feel like we don't have enough money. So we're kind of going back and forth. Yeah. I see a lot of roller coasters. We've all been there. So part of that is that what I find is part of the reason that that happens is because your price points in relation to the time that you spend delivering are not profitable enough to support the business that you have and that you need to run. So most people price their stuff, well, a bunch of different ways, as much as I can get, or what other people are charging, or what I think this person will pay, all of which I think are terrible ways to price yourself, by the way. Because what it's not taking into account is how much you need to charge in order to do this and pay for your business and your life. And what that ends up doing is allowing you to book yourself solid when you get clients in, because you have the time, quote, have the time, but you haven't put any time aside to actually run your business. And that's why you're on a roller coaster. So the first part of intensives is about your model. If you want to make, for example, $20,000 a month, the way that you are charging now, does it support you being able to actually do that? Most people find it's not. When I have people analyze the price points that they're charging, they often find out the thing that I found out so many years ago, which is, oh, wow, the bigger my projects get, the less profitable they actually are. In fact, I would say 75% of people, maybe even more, that analyze their price points and their packages based on this thinking, find out that their highest package is actually their least profitable package, which means if they cut out their highest priced services, they would actually make more money. Now, I know this is a really hard concept that I probably shouldn't even bring up right now because I'm not going to go into it in too much depth right now, but I'll do a quick example. Most people, if they were given the option to do a $5,000 project or a $20,000 project, would just say, well, obviously I want the $20,000 project. And what they're not taking into account or asking themselves is, how long are these two going to take? Because if that $20,000 project is going to take 6 times or 7 times as long as the $5,000 project, then actually it makes more sense for me to take the $5,000 project and use that other time to go find more, better, profitable clients. Again, if you have a lead gen process, then this all makes sense. So the model is really about understanding, what does my business need to look like in terms of pricing and time spent? The second part of the intensives model is looking at your well, actually, they kind of go together, is looking at your client process and your creative process. Now, the client process is the forward-facing part where you are actually working with the client, and the creative process is behind the scenes. You're actually doing the work. These two things together make up how long it takes for you to deliver on a project. Every single minute you spend either talking to a client, working with them, or working on their project all goes into the final count of how long this project takes. And intensives for us is all about shrinking both of these, but still increasing the value. So what I find is that sometimes people think, like whenever I tell people we do entire brands in a couple of days, they immediately think, oh, you must be doing templated work. It must be repeated. You must not be doing any, I do very bespoke custom work and you must not be doing that. Quite the opposite. Every brand we make is specific to the client's needs and goals. The difference is we have cut out all the BS of the projects that are not adding any value. And we've only kept the parts that are adding the value that they're actually paying for. So that's where the creative process comes in. Like, how can you shrink this creative process and not make it so that it is dripped out over many, many months, but instead allows you as the creative to focus intensely on this client and their project to completion. And then the client process is about taking clients through a very well choreographed dance, really, to get them from where they are to where they need to go, understanding every decision, every step of the way, so that they're not just easy and are able to say yes without revisions. Steve and I make almost no revisions on these projects, but they're really excited about it. And they get their entire brand in a couple of days, which is worth so much money to a business. Because if you are going to get your website launched 6 months earlier, that's 6 months worth of value that you're getting, that somebody else who would spend that time working on a project and not launching their new website wouldn't get. And the third piece of this no BS agency model that I'm sharing with you is authority. Because once you get clients and intensives down, what you end up having is a process for attracting and closing clients, a process for delivering, and this can become very profitable. Steve and I did this. We did this without any social media, without any ads, definitely. I didn't have my book at the time. I didn't have my Forbes column. I had 1,000 people on my email list, and they were all people I had personally met networking in BNI. And I was not doing much email marketing. So we were able to get our price points to $10,000 for our one day within a year. And we were able to, obviously we were working with fewer clients, but we were making more money in less time at that price point. We were able to do that without any marketing. But in my experience, getting that price point to $30,000, $35,000 for a one day, that requires a machine that is generating leads and enough demand that you are able to raise that price point higher and higher. And that's where authority comes in. Lead gen in the client section is really about generating those leads with your actions. Authority is about generating leads with a machine that does it for you. And that's really based on three things. It's based on finding your voice. It's based on creating a machine that can multiply your content. And it's based on creating an email fan club. Your voice is about finding out what you really believe and having a point of view in this industry, so that there's something that people can really, that there's something that you can say that nobody else can say. And when you are able to find that voice, that's when people really start to listen to you. There's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of content. I bet most of you feel like if you're not making content, like, I don't want to contribute to the noise. But guess what? There's not a lot of good content. And there's not a lot of great, thoughtful people sharing information. There are some, but those are the best people. So there is ample opportunity for you to make a space out there. Once you do it, I bet you think like, gosh, that's a lot of time though. And at first it is. But if you build a machine that will help you distribute this content over and over and over again and multiply it, all of a sudden you create something once and it gets you clients for years to come. I still get clients from articles that I wrote 7 or 8 years ago. It's pretty incredible, right? You write this thing one time and 8 years later, it's still sending you leads. But the real money and magic is in the email fan club. This is still, email is still king. Nobody in marketing will tell you otherwise. It is the most direct way to communicate with people. You may feel like, oh, but everybody sends newsletters and I'm so annoyed by all these newsletters. And I am too, right? Our inboxes are full of junk that we don't want. And yet there are some emails that we're very happy to get. And that's the goal. You just want to be that email for your people. And plenty of people are going to think you're junk. And that's totally fine because they're not your people. The goal is to build an email fan club of people who are just dying to hear from you because you have so much value to share with them and you're speaking right to them. And the culmination of all of these things is what we call, here, I'll do it here, a no BS agency, one that is able to run with just 1 or 2 people and scale to $30,000 to $50,000 months, working less than 50% of your time with clients. That's the model. And we do that by using this intensives model, having a very clear lead gen process, and then investing in authority building so that there is longevity in your business and so that it's sustainable over the next 5, 10, 15 years. So, any questions? Wish I had like a big finish for you guys, but I feel like that was enough information. And I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. I am totally an open book here.
Reggie?
Yes. I'm sorry?
Reggie, do you have a question? Oh, sorry, Shay, do you have a question? I thought Reggie said.
Reggie and I we look alike, and I'm not wearing my glasses today.
I'm actually looking at the bottom of my screen, and I have Reggie's name first.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Cool. Hi, Pia. I have
Hi.
one question, and it's about the lead products. Can you give us an example of what a lead product looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So my lead product is called the brand shrink. I coined the phrase lead product in my book when I was teaching it to people in all industries. So I have implemented the lead product in financial management companies, in, therapy practices, like everything. But now that I only teach branding agencies, the lead product is very specifically kind of exactly what I do. And it's like, name it something else, but it's the brand shrink. And the brand shrink is really a deep dive interview to get to know everything about the client's business, understand where they are, where they've been, and where they want to go. And then after you interview them, you write a brief in a very specific way to shine light on what their opportunities are and get them excited about what's possible. And then at the end of that, separately, you write the pitch, like the proposal. Okay, like here's what's possible for you. And guess what? We can do all of that for you. And this is how much it costs. It's a very effective way of closing clients and getting them like ready to spend a lot more money than they would have with a proposal.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Do we have any other? Milka?
Hi, thank you so much for this hour. It's been amazing. Like you, I have my husband is my partner, and he's all creative and I'm all the business side. And we were just talking about this yesterday, which is kind of interesting, the idea of scaling. But I love what you're offering, what you're suggesting here. My question is, explain more about the multiplying or the machine. Like, for instance, I have only one creative here who's off doing the illustrations. How do you multiply that, or how do you, expand that?
So multiply is referring to multiplying your own authority content so that it is hitting people in multiple touch points. So taking one piece of content and turning it into really like 15 touch points that are then recycled over and over and over again. Because right now, what people usually do, and I did this for a long time, is like you put all this energy into one thing, you put it up, and then that's it. And now I got to do it all again and again and again. And it can get exhausting and also doesn't really build anything. So instead, we want to create a machine that is taking that and repurposing it and sharing it over and over and over again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Got it.
Nick?
Yeah, I have the question. I love everything you're saying, and like the idea of just scaling it down and saying, we're going to lock everyone in a room and get it done. When doing that, how do you get I don't want to say design by committee, but the lots of cooks in the kitchen? in the niche, or however anyone wants to say it, we tend to have a lot of large egos and fragile egos, and we need to try to make 7 people happy or someone's going to explode. How do you deal with that in the intensives?
Yes. So we specifically work with 1 to 3 person service businesses for the very reason that we don't allow more than 3 decision makers in the kitchen, because design by committee is challenging. I do teach people though that work with big decision makers. They just alter this whole thing to corral those people during the LP or during the sessions. So that's one piece. The other piece is that I have found and that there are many things that happen like that conversation is won or lost way before it happens, right? That you figure out what that relationship's going to be like starting on the first phone call to see if they're a fit, starting on the, how you manage them through the LP process, how you manage them through the sale process. Like every step of the way is creating a dynamic with your clients. And when you play it right, when you get to that part, you can whip them into shape and they will thank you for it. I see a question in the chat box. Ozzy said, what examples of steps you've trimmed down from your creative process? From the creative process. Yes. Well, we used to go from mood board to logo. Yeah, right. To brand, to website. And now we do the whole thing holistically. So we take a Gestalt approach. We look at the whole design and we design the brand, and the logo comes at the end. And that cuts out like dozens and dozens of hours, because once you've designed an entire brand, the logo actually just kind of like falls out at the end. So that's one example. Are the clients on site in studio with you during the intensive sessions? They were for years, and then COVID happened, and now we're never doing it on site again.
So how are you doing it now?
We just do it over Zoom.
Okay.
Yep. I've worked with people all over the world. I did a brand up once with partners in a business where one of them was in Australia and the other one was in the UK. That was interesting. It's really, it actually works out the same or better virtually.
So when you work with these people, do you work and then they go away and discuss other things while you're working, or while your partner is working on the design? Or
there's a whole process. Every hour of it is called for, and there's a specific steps that we take people through at every juncture to make sure that they are on board, to get their input and feedback. It's not like we're shoving this down their throat. We're presenting things and we're getting their feedback and then making whatever tweaks are necessary. And then we're moving forward.
okay.
Yeah. So before I'll take any more questions you guys have, I have a couple more minutes. I have 2 things I can give you. One of them is like this whole thing laid out in a blueprint that kind of explains all the step-by-step. I will put that in the chat box. It's just the blueprint, No BS Agency's blueprint. And I will also say that for all of you who are in branding, I have a free Facebook group for just 1 to 2 person branding agencies with like tons of videos explaining all of this stuff in the guide section. If you download that blueprint, the thank you page will link you to that Facebook group. It's called the No BS Agency Owners Facebook group, duh. But I would love to have any of you guys in there. There's tons of videos. There's tons of interaction. Lots of people asking questions that are like very industry specific. So it can be a great resource for any of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So do we have any last questions before?
Any last questions?
Janine?
I have one. Are most of your clients local to where you are? How do you reach out to clients, like you say, from a distance that have gained your trust and want to work with you?
Yeah, that's really where the authority comes in. So in those first couple of years, it was through people that knew me, and a lot of that was local because of all of my networking. But that's why after we kind of got the intensives and the clients systems down and created space and time, like we had time and money available, I reinvested that into doing the authority building and the creating this content and multiplying it and building this email list, and people join that from all over the world. And those people are being, they're being brought in and they're being nurtured forever until they're ready to hire us. And so that's how you expand. And by doing that, like I'm in New York City, so you could technically make a business just here, right? But most of the people I work with are in like rural places, like they're in like small towns. The only way you're going to have enough demand to be able to raise that price is if you build something online that will be able to nurture people no matter where they are.
So you did it mostly through email or social media? How did you build it?
I did it through my blog, my email. I've never been, I did a little bit through social media, but not really. It was through speaking, through podcasts. Then I wrote my book. Then I got my Forbes column. So all of those were building on each other to create a reach. But it all goes back to the email list, right? Like all the Forbes articles, it was all like, go to the email list.
Nice. Great presentation, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any last questions? Joss?
So that's essentially your lead generation process, what you just described, right? You're speaking and in your blog and your articles, and then getting everyone to sign up for your email list and then nurturing them. That's really your whole lead generation process, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah. Oh, and somebody, Nick is direct messaging me. Yeah, I didn't want to be all like salesy, but if any of you want to book a call with me to talk about this and see if like this is something you might be interested in, it's like no sales, no nothing, no pressure. I'll put that link. Is that okay, Nancy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Nick, you can just use that link. You could just book a call. We can hop on a call for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and we can just see if this is something you're interested in learning more about.
And I'll put that in the follow-up email to everyone as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I have someone who takes these calls. So I haven't taken them in a while. But it looks like, yeah, there should be some
Just
space.
as
long as
to
I was
be
just
right.
checking, I'm like, I'm giving them this link. I haven't clicked in a while. That should be good.
Okay,
Yeah, I would love to chat with any of you.
great.
Yeah. I hope this
Well-
was helpful. I hope this was inspiring or just gave you something like a different way of looking at stuff. It's definitely been a complete 180 from how we used to do it. And it's just afforded me such a different lifestyle. Like Steve and I, we one time we did a brand up every week of May and the first week of June, which was really intense. But then we made like $100,000 and went to Europe for 3 months. Like it was like so cool that we could do that. And it's just something I feel so lucky that I kind of stumbled upon it. And I really want other people, I like, not to toot my own horn, but like, I think it's a better way to do it. So I think people should do it this way because it will give you the stuff that you've been trying to do. So that's my little, carrying the flag for our industry. Anyway, thank you, Nancy, for having me.
We have one last question.
Oh, yes, sure thing.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's a very simple question.
Yeah.
Out of all the good stuff that you've given us, this long list, what would you say is that one thing that accelerated your new model?
Yeah. Learning how to sell and deliver a lead product is game changing.
Great.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And on that note, I thought this was fabulous. I loved it. And to me, it was a compliment to your book. And I hope everybody takes advantage of the Facebook group. It's really great.
Yeah. When you join the Facebook group, my system will automatically send you a copy of my book. So if there isn't another reason, it'll send you a PDF copy of it.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Thanks again so much.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.